Dr. Connor. There used to be an old operating hospital about 30 minutes away from Brendan. The place had so many stories, and what speculated to have happened there drew so many visitors and camera crews. No one really knows why they shut it down, but one thing everyone has started to notice is that when people go in, not many come out. When the hospital was operational, it was said to be fantastic. However, old documents reveal something strange about one of the doctors. His name was Dr. Connor, and he was well respected to what's been understood. He had a few oddities about him, however. According to the old documents, staff reported that Dr. Connor would constantly talk about building the perfect one. Nobody really knew what that meant, and there were startling amounts of reports about this specific incident. Also, when interviewed, the nurses that worked with him, they reported that he would take disturbing notes about the patients he was seeing that had literally nothing to do with the reason that they had come in. He documented their arm length, their leg length, their eye color, their finger size, and even their skull circumference. He also was documented to leave position to periodically go downstairs. When asked why, he would respond with the words "Esse venente," which upon further research translates into "he is coming" from Latin. Staff also said that Dr. Connor refused to use the elevator because it didn't take him to his destination. Now that wouldn't be so startling if we hadn't found the documents that said the mechanics couldn't get the elevator to go to the basement. Ergo, it was not used. Just before the hospital shut down, there were 19 reported cases of patients having amputated limbs that were not scheduled to be removed, mainly because there was nothing wrong with the limbs. Each one was under the care of Dr. Connor, and none of these limbs were ever found. These patients sued the hospital, causing a large disability to maintain the fund requirements to keep the building running. Thus, it shut down. No further records indicate what happened to Dr. Connor, and as far as anyone is concerned, he's dropped off the face of the earth. In the recent past, the building has been condemned, and no one is allowed to get past the outer wall. Some film crews, such as We the Truth Seekers and Abandon Cam, have been daring enough to jump the wall and go and investigate the building to broadcast to their website. The 6 horror filmists of Abandon Cam were looking for a cheap creep when they met their demises. As I walked around the building, I kept hearing what sounds like chanting in the video's background. They investigate the sound reluctantly, and as they continued to walk towards the sound, they discovered dismembered heads and some without bodies and others without arms and legs and appendages. The 6 men found a door, which we learned to be a stairwell door when the video was reviewed. When they put the camera down and proceed to walk further, nothing else is heard. Minutes later, one of the men come running back up the stairs screaming. Close behind, there's a man that hadn't been seen in the video before and isn't speculated to have walked in with them. That being said, he runs out following the man that was screaming, and in one hand seems to be holding a sickle or blade. The last thing that's seen in that video is the man with the blade running back down the stairs, holding that decapitated head of the man that was running up the stairs. The other film crew, We the Truth Seekers, got a little bit further. They too heard the chanting, and after seeing the previous video that was broadcasted on Abandon Cam's website, they decided to split up. One group goes the same way as Abandon Cam, and they get to the stairwell and choose to leave their other partners when they hear footsteps. They go out a window, and the broadcast cuts over to the other group. Group 2 found the elevator shaft that proceeded to investigate the lower floor as quietly as possible. The 2 men in this group dropped down to the elevator shaft and landed on top of a stationary car at the bottom. It's believed to be on the bottom floor. The records left by the mechanics said that the elevator couldn't get to that floor, which is why this was so strange. The 2 men leave the camera on top of the elevator car facing the closed doors of the basement floor. As they opened the escape hatch on the top of the elevator and quietly dropped into the elevator, Loud demonic chanting can be heard. The two men manage to pry open the elevator doors, and the camera gets a full shot of the basement when the doors open. The depiction of a man wearing a doctor's uniform, chanting near a wall, can be seen. He eventually notices the men and immediately terminates the two, just as the other one from the film crew. He does not notice the camera. The man takes the two heads of the poor individual and throws them into a pile of what looks to be other human heads. The man is seen sewing something together. It's what appears to be two human chess pieces. This thing that he's creating looks to consist of 6 arms, 6 legs, and 6 heads. The body of this thing is larger than a human, but more along the lines of several human bodies merged together. He then draws what looks to be an upside-down star surrounded by a circle on the ground below it, this thing being in the center of the star. He then takes 5 skulls from the pile of heads and lines them up on the points of the star. After getting 5 red candles, he places them on top of the skulls and lights them. He begins to dance around the star and chant unknown words, just before the heads and the hands of the arm of the created creature start to move. It then moves all of its heads, and at once starts to move. All 12 of its eyes open. It begins to walk as the man praises the entity. The man and this entity begin to walk towards the elevator, and the man seems to have a plan for what he's going to do with this entity, and a name tag is briefly shown on the doctor's uniform. It's not quite sure what was on the tag, but the only 4 letters that can be read are NNOR. The video camera then loses its battery and dies. There have been no further records, videos, pictures, or sightings of this entity, or Dr. Connor. Many people have left Rendon, and many people have noticed that more and more people are randomly turning up missing. If you have any information, sightings, or even pictures of what could have happened to these people, please contact your local authorities. Dr. Connor has summoned something. Whatever it is, it's not good. Dr. Connor has the ability to possibly create even more of these creatures. Please relocate from Rendon. United States Army, Article AS-19971029CE, Sanctions 168 Enforcer, Ethan Spencer.